Climate change is one of the most pressing issues facing the world today. The global climate is changing rapidly, primarily as a result of human activities that emit greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. The effects of climate change are already apparent across the globe, from melting glaciers to more intense storms to droughts that threaten water and food supplies. In this video, we will examine the causes, impacts, and potential solutions to climate change. Gaining a better understanding of this complex problem is the first step to taking meaningful action to address it. The choices we make today will shape the world we leave to future generations. There are reasons to be concerned, but also reasons to be hopeful. By working together and embracing innovation, we can transition to an economy that is environmentally sustainable and ensures the well-being of all people and ecosystems on the planet. Tackling climate change won't be easy, but it presents an opportunity to build a cleaner, healthier, more just world. Climate change is caused by the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is a natural process that warms the Earth's surface. When sunlight reaches the Earth, some of it is absorbed by the land and oceans, heating them up. The Earth then radiates this heat as infrared radiation back out to space. Greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor trap some of this radiation, retaining heat in the atmosphere and keeping the Earth's surface warm enough to be livable. Without the greenhouse effect, the Earth would be too cold to support life. But human activities since the Industrial Revolution have increased greenhouse gas levels substantially, enhancing the greenhouse effect and causing the planet to warm up. The primary cause of climate change is the burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas for energy. Powering our vehicles, electricity, heating buildings, running industry, all rely heavily on fossil fuels and emit carbon dioxide when burned. Deforestation also releases large amounts of CO2 when trees are cut down or burned. Livestock like cows and sheep are another major contributor through releases of methane gas during their digestive process. Agricultural practices like fertilizer use and rice cultivation also emit greenhouse gases. In the past 150 years, human activities have increased the atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide by over 40%. Methane has increased by 150%. Higher greenhouse gas concentrations trap more heat, causing global temperatures to rise. The science is clear. Human activity is overwhelmingly responsible for modern climate change. 97% of climate scientists agree that the climate is warming, and that human greenhouse gas emissions are the dominant cause. Tackling climate change requires us to dramatically reduce our carbon footprint. The effects of climate change are already observable across the world. As global temperatures increase, weather patterns are disrupted. Climate change doesn't just mean warmer weather, it means more extreme and unpredictable weather. Higher temperatures are contributing to an increase in catastrophic storms like hurricanes and cyclones. These violent storms destroy homes and infrastructure and cause flooding. Droughts are also becoming more common in some regions. Prolonged drought threatens drinking water supplies and agricultural production. Climate change is also causing sea levels to rise at an accelerating rate. Warming oceans are expanding in volume. Melting land ice such as glaciers and ice sheets is adding more water. Rising seas endanger coastal communities and low-lying islands. Seawater intrusion into freshwater aquifers makes water unusable. Ecosystems around the world are under stress from rapidly changing climate conditions. Migration patterns are disrupted. Many species cannot adapt quickly enough to new temperatures or conditions. Important ecosystems like coral reefs are being damaged by mass bleaching events as waters warm. Climate change is projected to alter the geographic ranges suitable for agricultural production. Crop yields are expected to decline in many parts of the world due to increased drought, flood risk, and other extreme events. This threatens global food security. The impacts of climate change will not be equally distributed. Developing nations and disadvantaged communities that lack resources to adapt will be hardest hit, but no part of the planet will be immune. Climate change is a global challenge that requires urgent action before impacts become even more severe. Despite the scientific consensus on human-caused climate change, there remains skepticism and denial of this reality among some groups. This denialism stems from several key factors. Some fossil fuel companies and affiliated groups have actively spread misinformation to cast doubt on climate science and delay action. Protecting short-term profits has taken priority over acknowledging a business model built on practices that threaten the environment. Certain political and ideological groups oppose the big economic transitions and regulations needed to address climate change, believing it will impede the free market or expand government overreach. Accepting climate science is seen as validating these unwanted policy shifts. The human brain can struggle to respond urgently to slowly unfolding crises like climate change versus immediate threats. Denial or diminishing the problem are psychological defense mechanisms against an unpleasant truth. Media bias and false balance between mainstream climate science and fringe contradictory views has amplified doubt despite an overwhelming expert consensus. The challenges of communicating complex climate science has hindered public understanding. Addressing widespread climate denial will require communicating scientific facts effectively, directly countering misinformation, and building public demand for climate solutions. With urgent action needed, overcoming denial is crucial to coming together to meet this existential threat. The fundamental solution is to dramatically reduce greenhouse gas emissions, especially from burning fossil fuels. This means rapidly transitioning to clean renewable energy sources like solar, wind, geothermal, and hydropower. These technologies are improving quickly and are now cost competitive with fossil fuels in many places. Governments need to incentivize and regulate this transition. In addition to switching power generation, we need to electrify transportation. Electric vehicles running on clean electricity emit far less carbon. Improving public transportation systems also reduces emissions. Upgrading buildings and industry for better energy efficiency will reduce waste and emissions. Simple steps like weatherproofing, installing energy-efficient appliances have big impacts. Smart grid technologies also help match supply and demand efficiently. Restoring and protecting carbon-storing ecosystems is another key climate solution. Forests, wetlands, peatlands, and oceans all absorb massive amounts of carbon dioxide. Preventing deforestation and improving land management preserves these carbon sinks. Innovations in agriculture can turn soils and plant matter into carbon sinks while also feeding the world. Regenerative techniques like zero tillage, cover crops, and crop rotation increase soil carbon sequestration. Reducing food waste and moving towards more plant-based diets also helps. Putting a price on carbon through a tax or cap and trade system creates incentives for businesses and individuals to minimize emissions in a cost-effective manner. Strict regulations on emissions can also drive change. Climate change is a global problem needing global cooperation, but it also requires action by citizens, communities, and companies. Our individual choices add up to make a real difference. By working together, we can meet this challenge. Climate change is an urgent crisis facing humanity. The impacts of a warming planet are already being felt and will intensify in the coming decades. But solutions exist if we act decisively. The most important step is rapidly phasing out fossil fuels and transitioning to clean renewable energy across all sectors of the economy. This energy transition must be paired with protecting natural carbon sinks like forests and wetlands. Innovations in technology, infrastructure, and agriculture will enable us to reduce emissions while still providing for human needs. Addressing climate change requires global cooperation on an unprecedented scale, but it also depends on the actions of individuals, communities, and businesses to make sustainable choices. This is a moment that calls for courage, compassion, and conviction to build a just and livable future. With determined effort, we can meet the climate challenge and create a thriving world where all people have access to clean energy, clean air and water, sustainable food, and lives of dignity. We have the knowledge and technology to successfully tackle climate change. What we need now is the will to act. There is no time to waste, but the solutions are within reach if we work together. By rising to meet this crisis, we can build a healthier planet for current and future generations. The climate emergency is an opportunity to rethink and remake our world for the better. The choice is ours.